I'm Dawn Hill, host of Heart, Mind, and Purpose, a podcast where we explore what it means to live an aligned and wholehearted life. I am a professional counselor with over 25 years of experience and a deep love for meaningful conversation. I bring you honest reflections, soulful questions, and meaningful tools for managing life. Whether you're seeking clarity, connection, or simply a space to breathe, this podcast is here for you. Tune in weekly and join me on the journey.
Welcome back to Heart, Mind, and Purpose. Today we're diving into a topic that touches nearly every life at some point: romantic relationships. They can be joyful, complicated, exciting, and challenging, often all at once. Hi, this is Paul Gramercy, producer of today's episode, where Dawn explores what makes a romantic relationship unique, the different stages and types we experience, and even some common myths that can trip us up. She also shares how a healthy Christian perspective can bring depth and clarity to the way we love. Whether you're in the early spark of attraction or walking through the steady rhythms of long-term commitment, there's something here for you. Here's your host, Dawn Hill, with today's theme, Love Beyond Butterflies, Building Lasting Relationships.
Today we're talking about something that affects nearly every one of us at some point: romantic relationships. These relationships can be wonderful, confusing, exciting, and sometimes downright hard. And while every relationship looks a little different, there are some common patterns, stages, and even myths that shape the way we think about love. So if you've been following along, you'll remember an earlier podcast where we talked about attachment theory, how those first bonds with our caregivers create a blueprint for how we connect with others. We also explored polyvagal theory and how our nervous system develops its sense of safety and connection, and how that wiring follows us throughout life. My goal today is not to hand you a rule book, because there isn't one, but to give you a framework for understanding how relationships grow, what challenges they bring, and why they matter so much to us as human beings. Let's get started with the basics. A romantic relationship is more than liking someone or enjoying their company. It is an intimate partnership shaped by both emotional and physical attraction, often leading to deeper bonds like mutual care, trust, and commitment. Most healthy relationships have 4 ingredients: intimacy, passion, friendship, and commitment. Intimacy is the closeness that makes you feel safe, opening up your heart. Passion is that spark, the attraction, and the excitement. Friendship is one of the most vital components, as it will help us get through tough moments that emotions cannot, and it helps lead us to commitment, which is the choice to stay, to invest, to build something that lasts. Together, these form the backbone of a romantic relationship, even though how they show up looks different for everyone. Within the Christian tradition, marriage is viewed as more than just a legal or romantic bond. It is regarded as a sacred covenant, reflecting God's design and purpose for relationship. In Genesis 2:24, we read about this beautiful picture of two becoming one flesh, a covenant that is meant to last and be rooted in love, respect, and faithfulness. The New Testament builds on this with Ephesians 5:25, calling husbands to love their wives with the same self-giving love that Christ has for the church. That's a high calling, not about control, but about sacrifice and deep care. When both partners step into marriage with that kind of mindset, it becomes a true partnership, a reflection of God's design, marked by commitment, trust, and a love that honors Him. Not all romantic relationships look alike. Think about those experiences or that of friends and family. Dating, this is often the get-to-know-you stage. It's about discovery, learning compatibility, and figuring out if the relationship has long-term potential. It can be fun, light, and exploratory without heavy commitments. Here's a snapshot from my own work. I've worked with people from age 4 up to 74, but those who are still dating, whether it's in adolescence, their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s even, I usually ask them, here's a question I would like you to consider asking yourself. Now, after you've realized they're so cute, ask yourself, what is their character like? I get a lot of different looks at that moment, and I'm often asked, what do you mean by character? So here's a definition. Character is a person's moral and ethical qualities, like honesty or compassion, a distinguishing trait or quality of a person. Here are a few basic examples of character or a person's qualities. A person with positive character traits might be described as having integrity, kindness, and perseverance, to name only a few. A person of negative character traits might be described as deceitful, selfish, or lacking honesty. If we think to ourselves things like, how do they treat the person at the drive-up window or the wait person in a restaurant? How do they speak about their parents or others in general? We might get some insight about their character qualities and how we feel about what we've just realized. Please don't get me wrong, attraction is important, and after that, if we want to move on into a deeper relationship, we are wise to consider the other person's character. This is not about being judgmental or lifting ourselves above anyone, but to be aware if this person is a good fit for you for a lifetime. Your answers here may indicate if you move forward into a dating relationship with them or not. Then there are committed relationships. These are built upon trust, shared goals, and often shared values or faith. Commitment signals a deeper level of investment, weaving lives together with a vision for the future. And then there's long-distance dating relationships. These can be especially challenging because they require intentional communication, but when nurtured well, they can strengthen trust and creativity in how couples stay connected. There are many other forms of romantic relationships, but these give us a picture of how varied romantic bonds can be. As relationships unfold, they often move through recognizable stages. Not every relationship follows the same path, and the following stages only highlight the general journey. Attraction and infatuation, that thrilling rush when you first meet someone. Everything feels new, exciting, even a little intoxicating. It's the butterfly stage. Then building connection. Over time, the relationship shifts from infatuation to discovery. You learn each other's quirks, interests, values, and hopes. Trust and communication begin to deepen here. Establishing commitment. At some point, many couples decide to take things more seriously. Exclusivity, long-term planning, and integrating into each other's lives. Then challenges and conflict. This is the fun stage. This is the stage that often catches people off guard. Disagreements and differences emerge. How you handle the conflict here often predicts the health of the relationship long-term. Intimacy and commitment. As couples navigate challenges, they often emerge stronger with deeper trust, emotional closeness, and shared life rhythms. Stability and growth. Healthy long-term relationships don't stay static. They grow. Partners support each other's individual development, adapt to life's changes, and keep investing in one another. As a side note here, without getting too deep into this subject, as this could be its own podcast, premarital counseling, this is really important in my professional opinion and experience, as a professional counselor can help us become more aware of these stages and how to navigate them. Honestly, I've worked with so many couples who have stated how they wish they'd had done some professional counseling together before they got married. They feel that they'd have been more prepared, realistic, and better equipped to build a healthy marriage relationship. Let's talk now about something that often gets overlooked. Adolescents experience real romantic relationships too, and those relationships matter. Too often teens are dismissed with phrases like, "It's just puppy love. You'll get over it. There are plenty of fish in the sea." But if you've ever been a teenager in love, you know those feelings are anything but trivial. They are intense, life-shaping, and deeply felt. Think about a high school breakup. To adults, it might look small, but to a 15-year-old, it can feel like the end of the world. They're not just sad because they lost a relationship. They're grieving the loss of identity, belonging, and even their first glimpse of what intimacy feels like. When we brush that off, we risk sending the message to our child, your feelings don't matter. And when we acknowledge it, we help them learn that relationships, even early ones, can teach us valuable lessons about love, loss, resilience, and self-discovery. Adolescence is a training ground for relationships. Teens are exploring attraction, testing boundaries, and learning what they want in a partner. Peer influence plays a huge role here. Friends' opinions can make or break a relationship at that age. Emotions also run high. Jealousy, insecurity, passion, attachment can all show up in exaggerated ways because their brains and identities are still developing. And there's beauty here too. These early relationships can help teens practice communication, empathy, and conflict resolution. They start to see patterns. For instance, I like being with someone who shares my values, or I don't feel good when my boundaries aren't respected. Each relationship, no matter how long it lasts, contributes to the shaping of their identity and their future expectations of love. And here's where parents and mentors matter. Healthy guidance can make a difference between a teen who feels ashamed and confused about love and a teen who grows through it, learning to balance independence with wisdom. Then add in the natural curiosity around sexuality, and it is clear why education, values, and open conversations are so essential in this season. As a side note, parents, it is truly important to realize that if you haven't been building a strong and safe relationship, remembering attachment theory here, with your child, it will be much more difficult to speak into their lives in these moments. That doesn't mean don't try. Just realize if you have not built a safe place with them and for them, it is highly likely they won't want to listen to you, as they often think things like, "You haven't really been interested in my life before now, so why now?" Or, "What makes you think you know what's best for me? You don't really know me." Or similar things like that. Remember, they are still developing and trying to figure a lot of things out. Think back to when you were their age and how it felt and what you thought. Back then is not the things that you feel and think now. Patience and grace are needed here as you try to connect and listen and help and guide them. Let's not dismiss adolescent relationships. They may not look like adult partnerships, but they are real, formative, and important, and they lay the groundwork for the kind of partners, spouses, or parents these teens may one day become. Before we wrap things up, let's take a look at a few myths that show up in nearly every culture. Here's one. There's only one person for everyone. This is the soulmate myth. I believe it comes from Hollywood and romantic novels. It's romantic for sure, but it's very unrealistic. Healthy love is about two whole healthy individuals coming together. A healthy you plus a healthy me makes a healthy couple. We're not waiting for some person to complete us. Second myth would be you should always feel the spark. Infatuation is fun, but love matures. The spark changes, deepens, and it can be rekindled at any time. But expecting fireworks forever will set you up for disappointment. The right person will meet all my needs. No one person can carry that weight to meet 100% of another person's needs. A partner can be many things, but not everything. That's why we need community, friendships, family, and faith to meet the variety of needs we carry as human beings. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment just to add something that has been important in my own journey, and that's looking at a romantic relationship through the Christian lens. In Scripture, love is described not just as a feeling, but as a way of living. In 1 Corinthians 13, Paul writes about that love is patient, kind, not self-seeking, and it always protects and preserves. Those qualities don't just apply to marriage, they are a foundation for any healthy romantic relationship. From this perspective, romance isn't about someone completing us. God designed us as whole individuals, and in a healthy relationship, we complement each other and encourage one another to grow into the people that God has called us to be. It is less about finding the one and more about becoming the kind of person who can love well. Then there's boundaries, and these also matter, not as a list of restrictions, but as a way to protect and nurture love. Honesty, faithfulness, and integrity are boundaries that keep romance safe and flourishing. And woven through it all is grace. No relationship is perfect. Let me say that again. No relationship is perfect, and every couple will need to learn to lean on forgiveness, prayer, and God's help to keep growing together. At its best, the Christian view of romance reminds us that relationships are not only about our happiness, but also about reflecting God's love, a love that is faithful, sacrificial, and life-giving. Romantic relationships are one of the most beautiful and most challenging parts of life. They stretch us, they teach us, and they give us the chance to grow along someone else. Whether you are in the early thrill of attraction, navigating conflict, or enjoying the stability of long-term commitment, every stage offers lessons that can help us become more whole. So here's a question I would like to leave you with. What stage are you in now, and what is it teaching you? Remember, love is not about perfection. It's about presence, growth, and choosing to show up for another person repeatedly. I personally believe when we exchange wedding vows, or at least this is how my husband and I have viewed it, is we're saying to that other person, I promise to handle your heart well. That means we will be present, we will show up, we will grow together, even if we have to go through bumpy places. So thank you for joining me today. If this episode stirred something in you, I'd love to hear your reflections or questions. I hope that your relationships bring you connection, joy, and growth. Until next time, may you be kind to your heart, clear in your mind, and grounded in your purpose. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Heart, Mind, and Purpose with Dawn Hill. If today's conversation on romantic relationships encouraged you, challenged you, or gave you new perspective, please share it with a friend. You can find more resources and listener handouts at dawnmariehill.com under the Heart, Mind, and Purpose tab. If you have questions, feedback, or ideas for future episodes, you can also connect with Dawn there. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.